The Persian Gulf is pitch black at 2:33 in the morning. A formation of aircraft cuts silently through the darkness, slicing across the night like ghosts no radar should ever lose. Yet every single time Iranian systems try to lock onto the incoming contacts, the signal simply vanishes from the screen. And within just minutes, the entire horizon above the Strait of Hormuz is about to glow red with flames tearing through oil infrastructure. If this strike lands perfectly, Iran's southern oil artery is crippled before sunrise even has a chance to arrive. But here is the detail quietly sending Tehran into panic. 6 hours later, they still cannot officially identify who actually launched the attack. Just hours after Washington publicly backed a ceasefire, the Gulf briefly looked calm, almost deceptively peaceful. Lavan Island, one of Iran's most critical offshore oil and command hubs, was operating at full speed, desperately trying to recover from earlier damage sustained during strikes in the Gulf of Oman. Nearby, the USS Gerald R forwards that position just outside Iran's coastal radar envelope. Meanwhile, flying dangerously low over the water and hugging the surface to stay beneath radar coverage, UAE fighter jets were already inbound. At 2:37, a wave of highly precise kinetic strikes slams directly into the core of Lavan Island. Command facilities erased, logistics hubs wiped out, massive storage tanks ripped open and burning. But the biggest mystery remains untouched. Iranian operators still have no clear answer for who actually fired the shots. Deep inside Tehran's command bunker, the first theory of a simple technical malfunction collapses almost immediately. Signals intelligence suddenly detects the unmistakable electronic signature of Mirage 2009, flown by the UAE Air Force. This was no accident. This was a coordinated surgical cut aimed directly at Iran's vulnerable flank. Within minutes, Iran shifts into full combat posture. The Bavar 373, Tehran's domestically built long-range surface-to-air defense system, powers up its phased array radar and begins sweeping the southern horizon. Coastal missile crews scramble into position, loading Syed for interceptors, while teams rush to prepare swarms of Shahid loitering munitions for a retaliatory strike against UAE territory. Less than 30 minutes after ceasefire signatures dried on paper, the Gulf is already sliding dangerously toward open escalation. At 2:45, the Mirage 2000-9S suddenly stopped playing invisible. The sleek French-built multi-role fighters abandon caution and begin executing deliberate decoy maneuvers over the Gulf. Sharp pull-ups, violent snap rolls, steep dives that skim dangerously close to the waves. The objective is brutally simple. Overload Iranian radar crews and force them to constantly reacquire targets, scattering attention across the entire southern arc, so the Bavar 373 cannot lock onto any single threat for too long. But here is what makes the operation dangerous. The mirages are only the loud distraction. The real game is unfolding quietly behind them. Far inside the Gulf of Oman, the USS Gerald R forward operates like a silent digital fortress. Escorting Arleigh Burke-class destroyers activate their Mark 41 vertical launch systems, while deep inside launch tubes, Tomahawk guidance systems wake up and begin calculating terrain following strike profiles. Higher above, F-35C Lightning II fighters slip through narrow seams inside Iran's radar network using sensor fusion and MADL data links, silently feeding live targeting information back to launch platforms without ever breaking radio silence. By 2:57, Iran fires back hard. Older surface-to-air missile batteries streak into the sky in desperate volleys. But something strange suddenly begins appearing behind the primary American formation. Faint electronic shadows, tactical distortions of Iranian radar operators struggle to classify, still rattled by the Mirage deception. Crews fail to recognize the warning signs. Then the Bavar 373 shifts strategy. Instead of chasing radar reflections, the system starts tracking velocity signatures and electromagnetic emissions leaking from mirages themselves. Suddenly, a Syed 4 missile tears off a coastal launcher at terrifying speed, its anti-jam seeker locked in. Inside the cockpit of the lead Mirage, warning alarms explode to life. The pilot violently yanks into a punishing 9G defensive turn, dumping flares and electronic decoys in desperation. But the missile stays locked almost until the final second. It never even needs a direct hit. A proximity fuse detonates an electromagnetic pulse near the UAE formation. Instantly, the MAGL network, the digital lifeline connecting UAE fighters back to American support, collapses. At 3:15, cockpit displays flicker violently. Shared battlefield awareness begins dying piece by piece. Within seconds, every Mirage is effectively flying blind and alone. No fuse intelligence. No coordinated command picture. And worst of all, they can no longer see Iran's tightening air defense network closing around them. Aboard the USS Gerald R, forward, command displays suddenly flash red. Sir, we're losing the UAE network. The strike commander stares at the rapidly fracturing operational map for only a moment before giving one order. Switch to active defense, launch the EA, 18G Growler, and reopen the corridor. At 3:22, sensing confusion inside the American-led formation, Tehran launches a brutal two-pronged counterattack. A massive wave of electronic warfare suddenly blankets the Strait of Hormuz. This is not random interference or battlefield static. It is carefully engineered jamming, designed to blind American sensors, disrupt targeting systems, and sever radar locks at the worst possible moment. At the exact same time, dozens of Shahid drones erupt from the Iranian coastline, racing low across the water toward American destroyers. Then something nearly impossible happens. The Bavar 373's processing systems identify what appears to be a weakness in the F-35C Lightning II's radar cross-section. A hard lock. Suddenly, an American cockpit erupts with a critical warning signal. For an aircraft built around a myth of invisibility, that alert lands like a punch straight to the gut. But at 3:26, the shadows answer back. An EA-18G Growler, Boeing's premier electronic warfare aircraft, finally announces itself. Instead of trying to overpower Iran's entire defense network, the jet does something far smarter. It punches one narrow corridor through the electronic chaos. A tiny opening lasting barely a second, but 1 second is all the F-35C needs. The pilot instantly shifts aspect angle, while the aircraft's internal warfare systems unleash a countermission. Just like that, the Bavar 373's lock disappears. Then comes a deception. American carriers and destroyers flood the Gulf with digital ghosts, projecting an entire phantom fleet across Iranian radar screens. Iranian crews begin wasting valuable surface-to-air missiles on targets that never existed. Back aboard the destroyers, Phalanx CIWS systems roar to life, while CRAM defenses ignite, tearing through incoming Shahid drones and shredding them into burning debris over the water. By 3:30, the Growler widens the electronic corridor and the coalition network slowly rebuilds itself. The Mirage 2000-9S reconnect. F-35CS quietly transform into invisible quarterbacks, feeding precise targeting intelligence directly to UAE fighters without ever activating their own radars. Iranian crews can still track the Mirages, but the F-35CS, sitting only kilometers away, remain almost completely invisible. The brains behind the strike cannot be seen. The hands carrying it out cannot be touched. At 3:45 above Lavan Island, the kill zone fully opens. F-35CS release GBU, 39 small diameter bombs. Mirages follow with dams and GBU, 12 laser-guided munitions. Tomahawk missiles scream in from Arleigh Burke-class destroyers. Distillation facilities vanish. Command bunkers collapse. Remaining Bavar 373 sites disappear inside towering columns of orange fire. Iran's air defense crews, electronically blinded and operationally overwhelmed, can only watch as the strategic core is dismantled in real time. Tehran did not just lose an island. It lost the illusion that its core infrastructure was untouchable. And honestly, that is the part that lingers. Imagine if the Growler had failed to reopen the corridor. Just 5 more minutes of Iranian electronic dominance, and this entire operation could have spiraled into full-scale war. Sometimes the line between a surgical strike and global disaster is thinner than a radar signal. If you made it this far, hit subscribe so you do not miss the next military breakdown.